First, we will address some important global politics and foreign events. Greece took over the rotating presidency of the European Union, hiring slumped sharply in December as the economy added only 74,000 jobs. This was the weakest month for job growth since January 2011. French President triumphed a pro-business agenda of tax and spending cuts to revive France's anemic economy. Chinese capital was shrouded in dangerous smog, cutting visibility down to a few hundred meters. President Obama has ordered curb on the use of bulk data collection by U.S. intelligence agencies, saying civil liberties must be respected. Serbia has started a formal accession talks with the EU with the goal of joining the 28-nation bloc. In the economic and company news front, marijuana sales exceeded $1 million on the first day in Colorado. Senate confirms Janet Yellen as the Federal Reserve Chair. European Central Bank last week indicated that it is leaning towards more quantitative easing if the Eurozone recovery shows signs of faltering. Struggling department store JCPenney said it will close 33 underperforming stores and slash 2,000 jobs. In the measure, it says it will generate annual savings of $65 million. China's economy grew at its slowest pace in 13 years in 2012. GE has confirmed that it has placed an order for 40 Boeing planes worth $4 billion. The Federal Reserve has already reduced its monthly bond buying from $85 billion to $75 billion and is expected to cut it back by a further $10 billion in February. Now on to recent equity offering. We will begin with the IPO market. Some large IPOs from the past week included EP Energy, RSP Persman, CHC Group. On the graph shows the IPO execution for the last 12 months. As we can see, 2013 was one of the best years for IPOs in recent memory, and 2014 is off to a good start as well. There has also been some large secondary offerings in the last 2 weeks, including Altisource and Residential and Cvent. Additional details on the 2 large IPO and SPOs. EP Energy produces oil and gas products. They will use the net proceeds from this offering to redeem and repay outstanding debt and to pay management fees. Altisource Residential focuses on acquiring, owning, and managing single-family residential properties in the U.S. Net proceeds from this offering will be mainly used to purchase non-performing and sub-performing residential mortgage loans. Recent debt issued. One of the largest ones being InBev, which sold $5.25 billion of bonds in 6 parts to help fund its purchase of South Korea's Oriental Brewery Company. InBev is regaining control of Oriental Brewery, which became Asia's nation's biggest brewery under KKR and Company. On convertible bond front, Sona sells $510 million in convertible bonds. Sona is a Spanish conglomerate group dedicated to civil engineering, construction, and infrastructure. This move helps to improve their risk profile by helping retire some 7.4 billion euros of net debt, largely in bank loans. HBC Holdings is the sales sole global coordinator, with other banks acting as joint bookrunners.
There are some investment banking news between January 9th to 23rd. Christine Meissner, head of Global Investment Bank at Bank of America Corporation. Meissner said global merger and acquisition were to accelerate this year. Bank of Montreal hired a man from Canada Pension Plan Investment Board as a financial service analyst to replace Zhang, who is leaving the latter's investment banking unit to join his family's firm. Citigroup Incorporated, Mexico Investment Bank chief said the company is adding staff to meet rising demand for advisory service on mergers, acquisitions, and equity insurance in the Latin American nation. In January 21st, Citigroup will expand its term by 10% to 20% this year. Goldman Sachs Group Incorporated, co-head of investment banking in Brazil, is Fabio. He will leave the company 10 months after taking the job. Zhang, who heads the merger and acquisitions advisory business at Blackstone Group, said their involving technology company will increase this year amid rising confidence in corporate bond loans. Gold will extend declines this year as gains in equity markets reduce the need for having assets and increased regulation hurts risk appetite. According to Morgan Stanley, which wrote its billion forecast. This year target was cut 12% to 1,160 an ounce.
We have no news about regulatory and accounting development. There are some tax developments. IFRS, the International Financial Reporting Standards, they have many requirements for companies. Companies should measure their income statement based on tax law. Internal Revenue Service reduce and capitalize expenditures that is related to tangible property. Also, the final regulations are similar to 2011 temporary regulations. Also, IRA solved long-standing issue while reduce expenditure for research and experimental. Since subprime crisis in 2008 has huge influence on global market, U.S. market and European market are unstable until now, and Japan came up with large-scale quantitative easing policy. U.S., European, and Japanese currency decreased. China market and Hong Kong market are regulated by government, so they are more stable, and the Chinese currency and Hong Kong currency increased. For commodities, precious metals always can keep value under different situations of market, so people tends to keep as much as possible precious metals such as gold, silver in their hand. That is why the graph keeps increasing. US dollar is the most important currency in the world, and it is unstable. The price of daily goods is unpredictable under these inflations.
And this week in mergers and acquisitions, we have a table here outlining the most large and notable deals throughout the last 2 weeks. The most active buyers and investors have been Suntory Holdings, the Carlyle Group, Google, Lenovo, and China Goldstone Mining Development. The mergers and acquisitions statistics for the last 2 weeks worth of deals, the total deal value is $65 billion. The average deal value being right around $230 million per deal, and total premiums ranging from 14 to 18%. When we look at this globally, the transaction by region is highest in Asia, closely followed by the United States and Canada, and trailing is Europe. We're not seeing too much going on in Africa or in Latin America. Mergers and acquisitions transactions by sector. We look at this and we see financials are the highest throughout the last 2 weeks, closely followed by industrials and materials, consumer discretionary, and information technology and healthcare, all right around 40 deals within the last 2 weeks. The featured M&A deal of the last weeks have been Japan's Suntory Limited purchases Jim Beam Bourbon for right around $16 billion. This is a 25% premium to their stock price because they'll be paying $83.50 per share, and when the deal was announced, their stock closed at $66.97. This, of course, is a rather high premium, which is creating a lot of interest in this deal. Additional developments in M&A include the Carlyle Group acquires Johnson & Johnson's Orthopedic Clinical Diagnostic Lab, and Google acquires Nest Labs, which they do is high-tech thermometers, and they're a tech startup based out of Palo Alto. Analysts remain optimistic for mergers and acquisitions for 2014, primarily due to 5 different factors. The first of which being favorable credit markets and lending have increased leverage limits for private equity firms and also different corporations. Low interest rates, increased cash reserves, a large number of private equity firms seeking liquidity, and strong stock market performance. All of these factors should remain constant and help produce a good M&A year for 2014. Developments within private equity include private equity firms in Europe and Asia are continuing to grow, and their funds are seeking liquidity. This is primarily due to favorable debt markets, and it is assumed that it will continue to grow and be a good year for sponsors. Development in the hedge fund space. Hedge funds aim to make profits amidst the global warming crisis. European hedge fund and I refusing to work with European regulators. And a Goldman Sachs alumnus is said to be opening a hedge fund in Japan later this quarter. Developments within the venture capital space are new uses for Bitcoin are spiking Chinese curiosity of venture capital investment. Successful IPO market throughout the last couple years is assumed to continue to be successful for the next years, and this will aid venture capital investment. Consumer-focused service providers will continue to make hot investments for venture capital.